Your mind is not your friend. When I say your mind, I mean your ego mind, not the divine mind, which is awareness. Another word to talk about awareness. Your mind, your character's mind, your ego mind is not your friend. As a matter of fact, as long as you live in your mind, you will suffer in one way or another. Many times clients ask me, how did I discover I am and living as I am? And why do I speak more of I am nowadays? Well, it's because of that. Even though I had managed to manifest pretty much all my biggest desires, I was still suffering in the mind. And eventually that caught up with me because that mind started to create situations that I didn't want to experience. And I was thinking, I know better than that. How come this is happening to me right now? And the reason was that I was still living very much so in the character. I was still living in the mind and from my mind and macromanaging the mind way too much. When the time was right for me, that's when I discovered that I am is above the mind. I am is not the ego mind. I am is not the character. So, yes, while I am is giving you free will to experience whatever character and character's identification you may want. If you are stuck in it, if you stuck yourself within a character and its identification, you are going to create a world that matches that. And you are actually going to mask the truth. And this is why many of you suffer, many of you are where you are at right now, and you're saying that's not where you want to be. Many of you are saying, I can't manifest my desire, and this and that and the other. And it's because you have not maybe yet understood that you are still living in your mind, in your ego mind. You are still living from the character's perspective, from the character's identity. And when that identity is not the identity that you should be in, that matches your desired experience, of course, that's not going to be what you're looking for. So when I speak of dropping the character, I don't mean that you lose your identity, that you lose your personality, that you lose your human being, but you are losing the identification and its storyline. Because the storyline that you have created, while it doesn't even have any power of its own, it is the belief that it has that manifests. Let me give you an example that I ran into from a client not too long ago, and that had not happened in a very long time, if ever. Well, that person happened to be riddled with superstitions that, of course, her character was taught when she was a child. Those don't even come from her, but from the characters around her that raised her to be the little character that she became. So while a superstition has no power whatsoever because it's just a thought, the power that it has is the power you give it. So believing that if I go by under a ladder brings bad luck, the ladder has no power, the action has no power, the whole superstition has no power. But the belief that you have that is attached to that storyline, the belief in that story that, yes, if I do this, it's going to bring bad luck to me. That's what manifests. Therefore, even though none of this has power, the belief that you give it, the energy that you feed it, that, of course, does manifest. So what manifests in that case, it's not the superstition, it's your belief in that given story. So this is why I'm giving you the example of a stupid superstition here. But you guys believe in many different stories that could be compared to a superstition story. It's still a story. The story of a 3P, the story of lacking something, the story of not being good enough, the story of when and how and where. All of those things are just thoughts. They're just a bunch of thoughts to start with. And thoughts together, they create stories. And they have zero power. They really don't mean anything. But what has the power, though, is you using your power of awareness into that story as this character who identifies with it. That's what manifests. This is why many people ask, if we are so powerful, why do I manifest a lot of bad things instead of good things? Well, look at the story you are feeding. Look at the story you give energy to. Look at the character's identification that you are attaching to that story. That's the reason it manifests. As I am, you are all things. You exist in everything, and you have the power to pick up any character's identity, any role you want to play, any story you want to act up. You have that power. This is why, if you are choosing a character's identity, well, it better be the identity that matches your desire. Because when it comes to identity, I'm going to give you this example again. I know I've given it to you before. If you are identifying yourself as someone broke, someone who never has enough money, someone who fears the end of the month, someone who fears the beginning of the month because you can't pay your rent and so forth and so on. As long as you identify as this is me, this is my story, this is my character's identification. From there, from that identity, you will not and cannot manifest to be a millionaire or even manifest to be well off, because that's a complete different identity. For you to start to manifest money, well, you would have to step into that identity where you are wealthy. And in that case, yes, you let the reflection match your identity and you start creating a lot of money for yourself. And when you have stepped into a new identity, if you have any thought from the old, from the previous one over there, where you were poor, you were broke, well, that thought doesn't belong to you anymore. Irrelevant, completely irrelevant. This is a question I get a lot. What do I do in the meantime? And what you mean is, and when you ask me that question, what do I do with my thoughts? What do I do with my current 3D experience? Well, you do nothing. You just don't own them. You let them come and go like clouds in the sky. You don't identify with them and you don't own them. And you can't. If you truly are in that new identity of yours, that is completely opposite of the other one, Those thoughts, those circumstances, they are absolutely irrelevant to you right now. So, even if you're not ready to drop the character altogether, at least you must understand what your identity and its storyline is doing to you right now, because it does affect you every minute of the day, and you may not be aware of what's happening. And the only thing that is happening, it's not because you're not doing enough techniques, it's because you are in the wrong identity. That's it. Let me give you a silly analogy. If someone gives me an address, a number, and a street, and they showed me the pictures of the house even, but I made a mistake. I went in the wrong town, which has the same number of the same street. But of course, the house is not going to match because it's a different town. So I'm going to be looking at that picture and I'm going to say, but that's not the right house. How come they told me it's that number and that street name, but it's not the right place? Well, it's because you were in the wrong town. Therefore, you will never find that house because it's not there. It doesn't exist there and it will never exist there. So when you are in the wrong identity looking for your desire, where is it? Where is it? When is it coming? You are in the wrong identity. You are at the wrong address because you are in the wrong town. So that's why there, your desire doesn't exist. So for you to manifest your desire, well, you have to be in the state where it is, or in the identity where it is. But the thing is, if you are ready to go a step up, you don't even want to bother with identities, storylines, characters identification altogether, you can just dump it all. Dump the characters identification altogether, knowing that the one with the controllers anyway is I am. Now, let me give you another analogy. I'm sure you know those characters in video games where you create the whole character. You could create a character that looks a little bit like you, or that looks like your mother, or whatever. You can dress them. You can create a whole story for them and a whole environment for them. So this character in the video game believes that it exists as a character, and the space in that game, it's its world. But what that character in the video game doesn't even know, it's that it has no control of anything whatsoever. The one who has the control is the one with the controllers in their hands, which is you. Now, if you compare you as the character of this video game, and your I am as the one with the control in their hands, your human character, even though was under the impression that they had any control about anything, they never had any control of anything. Because the one behind the curtain, the one with the controllers, is I am. So this is why when you drop the character, you're not losing your life, you're not losing your personality, you're not losing anything. What you are losing, though, is the illusion that you were doing anything as this character, because you were not. As this human character, you just play the role that was scripted. You just experience the physical world through your body. But you are not the one in the control. However, I am gives you the control. As I am, you, by believing that you are this character and that the story that you have created, sometimes the nightmare that you have created, really is real. Based on that belief of yours, yes, you are going to create that environment. But not because the character has any power, but because of the belief that this is who you are. So when you drop the character altogether, you remove all the veils, you remove the lies, you remove everything that stands between you and who you truly are. You unmask the truth. And when you know the truth, there's no coming back. So this is why once you really experience what it feels to live as I am and not even caring about any specific identity, knowing that as I am, you have the control beyond the identity, then everything flows. That's when the most amazing experience and feeling just show up. And I'm preparing a success story video very soon. So if you, by watching my videos, by your own experience, by whatever, you have success stories about dumping the character, dropping the character, and living as I am, please send them my way, and I will mention them in an upcoming video where I want to share success stories of people having dropped the character and living as I am. So I hope I didn't go all over the place in this video, because for sure I am not really following any script. I'm not reading a prompter or anything like that. I'm just speaking as words come up. So I hope I didn't lose you or anything like that. I hope it makes sense. Please let me know in your comments. Like the video if you liked it, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.